So the instructions for filling it out, it says learning activities is a broad term, which includes courses, seminars, experiential learning, structured group work, exams, clinical placements, clinical supervision, and personal psychotherapy included as part of your training and education program. So actually, let me just go through this in detail with you. I know we don't have a lot of time, but let me just go through all the competencies with you. So competency 1.1 is integrate. I think I missed a letter here, maybe not. Integrate a theory of human psychological functioning and development. So do you have knowledge of the different theories of psychological functioning or personality development across the human lifespan? So 1.1, integrate knowledge of human development across the lifespan. 1.2, integrate knowledge of contextual and systemic factors that facilitate or impair human functioning. And 1.3, integrate knowledge of the psychological significance of various kinds of human development, such as spiritual, moral, social, emotional, cognitive, behavioral, sexual, gender, biological. And I would like to think that each of us probably had a course where we studied biopsychosocial, cognitive human development across the lifespan. For example, you've got like Freud's psychosexual theory of human development. You've got Erickson's, I think Erickson's is social development, psychosocial development across the lifespan. They generally have theories where they talk about like how a person develops cognitively, socially, behaviorally, religiously, even spiritually. In childhood, what happens like right after birth, as you're being cared for and breastfed, during your childhood years, formative years, like attachment theory, during your teenage years, and then into your adult years. They all have theories of how you develop across the lifespan. So those are the theories that you would be referring to. And it's essentially, can you integrate one of those theories? So what courses did you learn this through? So for me, I've got a psychotherapeutic theory of spiritual care and counseling. In this course, we just studied the history of all the different major theories and theorists. And then I've got another one, it's actually called Psychology of Faith Development. So this one focuses on how does faith develop? How do people develop faith? Like early on in childhood, what happens to lead you to faith in your teenage years, in your adult years, and so forth. But you might have one which focuses on like more cognitive development, more social development, behavioral development. So that's competency number 1.1. This one I did write a lot for because this was the one that was kind of the trickiest for me. I wasn't sure whether or not they wanted me to just like discuss just one theory, such as Freud's, like in detail, or just touch up on different ones. Asta could probably give us a little bit more information on that.
So actually, I also did rely on the theory bit. Yes, I remember. I'll just open the file.
Yeah, my answer for this
so
was
yeah, I did.
Yeah.
So I quoted like I mean, I would name the module and in the bracket, then I'll mention that refer to this syllabus, page number this, unit this. So in that, yes, I was talking about the theory. Like I listed out what particular theoretical modules helped me. Then further, I think what I talked about is that the MPhil program in itself entailed different units, working with children, working with adults, and working even with the geriatric population. So I tried to talk about that how that allowed me to see human development across lifespan, So I kind of quoted that, and I think I elaborated a lot on that what did the work entail in terms of assessments, how did you establish organicity, if there was any issue, what constituted normal development versus not so normal at various stages, so to say. So just overall, I talked about that. The one thing similar is that I've written this much, I guess, for each competency because I didn't know what exactly are they looking for. So yeah, that's what.
For the ones that were really important, like the ones and the fours, I wrote maybe half a page to 3/4 of a page. So half a page to 3/4. It was only when they asked for additional information on this, I ended up writing like a page and a half. But so under list learning activities, so I listed courses, just 2 courses, the psychotherapeutic theories for spiritual care and counseling, and then another course I had called Psychology of Faith. And I had other courses I could have listed, but I just listed these two. And then I uploaded the 2 syllabuses for that. So under learning activities, I just wanted to remind you guys so that for learning activities, they want either like courses, seminars, experiential learning, structured group work, exams, clinical placements. For most applicants, I imagine it's going to be courses or experiential learning. Asa, what did you put on for activities? Just you.
I actually, I'll tell you. So I quoted it a little differently. I said theory class, seminars, individual supervision, and so on. So like I literally listed the activity per se.
Okay.
So this I'm speaking, like this is what I've done for all of it. 1.1 was fine for me, but they have actually asked me to kind of provide more information for almost whole of the 4th competency, like 4.1, 4.2. Yeah, and 1.4 also. So they've asked me to again provide more information for 5 competencies of the 10 that they weigh heavily. So I'm not entirely sure. Like I'm sure in the sense they did provide me some feedback. So I'll share that might help the group. So one thing is I didn't know that one could rely a lot on what I'm doing currently. That I've mentioned in the passing, like supervision health or clinical work health and so on. But I was emphasizing more on my education. So for that, I quoted what I have done in my MPhil, just my MPhil, and 1-year certificate course, which was a psychoanalytic course. So that course actually is not a degree. It was just a 1-year certificate course. So they do not have a syllabus or those things. They just had an outline for the 1 year that these are the classes that took place for these modules. So they are not happy with that at all. In the 2 mails that they've written to me, they're telling me that you try to get that information from them. And then as you were saying, Della, since I don't have that information, I've contacted them, I'll have to construct it myself. So now I'm doing that. I'm just listing the readings I had in each of the so-called subjects. What were they teaching? They used to emphasize on movie and TV series analysis. For example, there was a show called In Treatment, which was psychodynamically oriented. So we used to actually discuss that. So now I'm going to add that further so that, like, there was movie TV analysis, there was role play, there were interactive discussions. So all of that would need to go. And the other idea I got from you, like what this means by the way, is that any education that you're quoting there, you better have all the documents pertaining to it. I put it in there because I was like, this course did help me, but it's not something I can compare to an MPhil degree, which is much more properly standardized, sanctioned, has a prospectus, has a syllabus, and so many things. This doesn't have any of it, but it was experientially very valuable. So now I'm struggling to kind of construct it in my own words, but I'll do it. Um, I think the other bit that I understood from what you were saying is, I will be talking about the currency hours, so to say. So in that now I'll be also quoting whatever readings were suggested in supervision, what were some textbooks we went back to, seminars I attended, if I can find pamphlets for the same. So I'll try and attach all of that also. And seminars that I arranged, like I kind of made content for. Yeah. And lastly, since I think they're asking for things you did after masters, like they probably as you said, they do not value bachelors, they might value masters. So I didn't quote my first masters at all because that was
Oh,
entirely theoretical. So
oh,
now I'll do that. Yeah.
oh,
So it's
absolutely.
just too much, too much information here.
Something you mentioned when I filled out, so when I had filled out competency 1.1, I talked about the
Hmm.
different theories, like all the psychosocial theories, the psychosexual
Hmm.
theories, the cognitive, but I did not talk about how I integrated them into my work with the clients. Like that one really confused me. And you
Yeah, it's
discussed how,
actually each time when they ask you to tell that how did you acquire it, I'm like it's
right?
self-explanatory. Like I've attended a class, so how else would I imbibe it, you know? So I don't know. Like that's a little confusing that what kind of an outcome or proof are they looking for?
Yeah,
And for many of these things, there is not a document that I can attach. That's
yeah.
the thing. So yeah, let's see. But yeah, I've sent you one actually, the one that I have edited and rewritten. That's 1.4. Either you can
Mhm.
give me your feedback on it, like
Okay.
privately on your own, or we can also go through it right now because it is kind. I've sent it to you in Messenger.
Okay. We're supposed to end at 2 o'clock, and I know
Okay.
it's so for Florencia, if any of you feel like, because I'm sure you guys have lives, if you want to leave, you can leave, and then I can follow up and send you this document later. This is the last part that we have to go through, is just going through this Word document, where we can discuss in detail each competency, and we can ask questions and answer questions.
You will send us this document, right? To the
I
email?
will. Yeah, this is
Oh,
the last
perfect.
one. So if any of you have to go, and Yeri, Tamina, if you have to go, you're more than welcome to. And I
Yeah, I have
apologize.
to go, but if you're gonna send us this, that would be great.
Yeah. And I'll do the a video recording as well of like a clip of the mapping tool. I'll send that to you as well. So you will have it with you to go through again. And then of course you can
Very,
always contact me with any questions.
thank you. It has been very nice. Nice to meet you all, ladies. You all are amazing and inspiring. Thank you very much.
Take care, Florencia. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye. So as the one thing you did was that, and I wanted to point it out for Anyeri and Tamina, is that you integrated the theory into working with clients. So as I worked with children, as I worked with teenagers, as I worked with adults and elderly, how did I see, how did these theories play out? How did I see them at work, essentially? So that would be the one thing
Yeah.
I didn't do in answering 1.1, and that's probably what I would have done differently. Yeah. So, so yeah, up here, my activity was, I just entered one activity, courses, and then I selected 2 courses, but your activities, as the mentioned, could be seminars that she arranged, whether she taught there, could be a number of different things. And then down in my answer, so you need to reference the courses you talk about. So down in my answer, I said in my psychotherapeutic theories course, we study the development and history of psychology and psychotherapy. And this is the main part. I said through the lectures, the course readings, the student presentations, the discussions, and the papers, I had opportunity to study and learn models and theories of psychology. And then I would discuss what those models and theories were. So in this course, we studied, the 2 that I pointed out from this course were Erikson's psychosocial development theory and Freud's psychosocial development theory. But what I wanted to find was, well, words I can use in each courses or activities from each course that I can use to describe how we learned. So the activities we learned through were the lectures, the course readings, the student presentations, and whatnot. And these, in different answers, I would take these and further talk about them. So I would talk about the course readings, and you could talk about the topics of the course readings. Or you could talk about the lectures, and you could talk about the topics of the lectures. Or you could talk about the student presentations. So here in my
So, I mean, should I also attach the presentation or something? If I, for instance, if I had given a presentation, should I attach that also as an
yeah,
evidence or what?
if you wrote a paper about a particular psychotherapy modality, let's say you did research on Erickson, and you want to attach that paper. For this one, I also attached, so every class, we had a handout of the outline of every class, and the outlines were like 20 pages long for every class. So I attached the outline for class 1, because in class 1, we talked about like at least 5 different modalities, 5 different theories of development across the lifespan in class 1 alone. So I could have attached all 9 outlines, but I'm like, that is a lot. So I just only talked about what we learned in class 1, and then I attached that. So that's an option as well. And I told you for certain of these, I attach like 10 documents. And Yeri, yeah?
I was just asking, your answers are based on the currency that you selected. So in your case, it was the education program that
Yeah.
you're using to be eligible. In my case, if I were to use the 450 DCC and 100 clinical supervision hours, my main focus in answering these questions should be that, right? Because my main education was 5 years ago. So although like I learned about all of these theories and like how did I apply them in the 450, right?
Yeah.
Is that how it? Okay.
Yeah, I would say the first part of your answer should be directed to what you selected, right, in your currency. And then afterwards you can talk, because in the others, like at the end, I would talk about my job or other places. Yeah.
But even if that wasn't within the past 5 years, it doesn't matter. Like my education, my master's program.
I would still talk about it. As I mentioned, they actually, when they asked me for more information about 1.1, she asked me to submit a syllabus from, she was under the impression that I did my BA in psychology, and she's like, oh, you can submit your syllabus.
Okay.
So yeah, you would still submit the syllabuses as well, because yeah, give them as much information so that they don't come back to you. So 1.1 is on integrated theory of human development, human psychological functioning. And then 1.2, work within a framework based upon an established psychotherapeutic theory. Do any of you have any questions? I know somebody had contacted me with a question about this. She wanted to know what it meant. So when I work with my clients, what modalities do I work within? So I generally tend to work within family systems or narrative therapy. I know, Asa, you do, like, you're a psychoanalyst, right? Like you work.
No, I'm just more oriented towards that school of thought.
Yeah.
But I'm not. Yeah.
So I talked about how I integrate family systems into my practice of psychotherapy, and how I integrate narrative therapy into my practice, and how, as I'm working with my clients, I can see one of the reasons I use family systems is because a lot of what the clients come in about is how being in a family system has impacted them. Almost all of the clients who come in, it's going to start with like some childhood trauma. A lot of it. So how, so then I would reference the theories of family systems, whether or not it's Bowen or Mnuchin or whoever it is, and what they said and how you've seen it at play as you work with your clients. I wish I could find the answer. Oh, I do have the answers to some of these. I actually have Mapit Tools, CRPO. CRPO. Let me just go back to see what I answered for this. If I can find it in this very messy thing. So 1.2. 1.2. So I wrote in the 10, so I submitted 10 courses for this one in my clinical placement. So I learned how historical and social forces shape the context of societies, communities, and individuals. Integrate knowledge of how human problems develop. Okay, so 1.2.1, integrate knowledge of how human problems develop. So because of that, I did talk about social factors, which bring about, which shape the context of people's lives. So social factors, I spoke about intersectionality, oppression, social justice. Yeah, you guys can see it there. I can put it into the, I'll just copy and paste it and put it into that thing, into the other document. So I don't have to read through the whole thing. Yeah. So then down on 1.3, it's integrate knowledge of comparative psychotherapy relevant to practice. So this has to do with the DSM-5. Yeah, so I referenced the DSM-5 and I spoke about the courses in which we used DSM-5 diagnostic categories. I might have to copy and paste my answer and put it in here as well. And over here, integrate awareness of self in relation to professional role.
Yeah,
And
this is the one I got as a redo.
oh yeah. What did I put for that? 1.4. Two things I think something I touched on in this one was transference, countertransference.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's the thing, like, that's, I think your writing, the way you kind of conceptualized it is very similar to how I also did. Like, I'm also elaborating, like, for instance, even in discussion with supervisor, we would talk about, as you said, counter transference, where you would look out for things wherein you might be
Mm-hmm.
doing anything which compromises the neutrality, so to say. So in this regard, when they're saying self and how that can both aid or be a detriment to the process of therapy, I was talking more about things like cultural differences, gender, how all of
Yeah.
that can play a role in how I see the person and how I'm also seen by the person.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
how supervision helped me further in kind of separating that what might be coming from my own personal life and what is being evoked by the patient. So this is exactly how I've spoken about it, that's why it's so lengthy, and yet they are not happy with it. I'm like, my God, what more am I supposed to say?
The other thing, I think I had particular courses where we discussed, we talked about safe and effective use of self. Yeah, I can't see which courses, but I know we had, I can tell you right now, I had a number of courses where we spent weeks talking about how the impact of like power, the therapist's power, the power relationship between therapist and client.
Yeah.
And we spoke about safe and effective use of self, allowing the client to, giving the client opportunity to direct the process. Well, not direct,
yeah,
but make decisions.
I know,
for
I get your
themselves.
point.
Yeah. So those were, so I don't know, did you have, what documents did you submit for that?
The documents, yeah, I was very miserly. I think I just attached the syllabus for the two courses that I talked about. One was for MPhil, the other one, that 1-year certificate course, and that is not a syllabus, that's a class outline. So
Okay.
that's the only thing I attached. Now I'm thinking, another thing I want to ask is, in the supporting documents, can I say that they should refer to the supervision forms, DCCM, because that does talk about
Yeah.
the private supervision I've taken
Yeah,
and the kind of work I was doing.
that would be an excellent place, like, because that's one of the places in your, even beyond your courses, the experiences in your supervision in with the clients. Sorry, you're talking about your direct client work, right?
Yeah.
That would be, yeah. So that would be one of the best places where you would have gotten this experience from. And then if you have a course outline or syllabus for that, or paperwork for that, document for that.
But that's private supervision, so that's not tied with any course. That's what I did after MPhil.
Yeah, that's
with
okay.
private practitioners.
That's okay. I think you send me the answer that you gave, and then send me all the documents you feel that could apply to it. And then, or even if you don't have the documents, just give me a description of the documents, and then I can give you my feedback on it.
Oh.
Yeah. So 1.5, integrate knowledge of human and cultural diversity, which is a really big thing in psychotherapy and overall in Canada. So talking about oppression, power, social justice, social injustice, and barriers to clients, barriers that clients might face. And then the twos are on, okay, so personal communication. So use clear and concise written, oral, electronic communication. I referenced my courses, just overall the courses I took. If you're taking a course, then most likely you're doing a lot of communication, verbal, written, oral, electronic. So I referenced that. And also I referenced my clinical internship, because you're doing a lot of communication. You're communicating with clients, you're by email, in person, all over the place. Yeah. Build and maintain effective relationships. So here again, I reference both classes and my internship and my work with my clients, the work with the clients, and also just being in our internship group with the other students. Comply with legal and professional obligations. So here they're going to ask about CRPO legislative requirements. That might be a gap for some people, especially like if you've done it outside of Canada. But there are ways you can describe it, like you have training in how to apply legislation from where you were trained. And most likely you've become familiar with it by doing the jurisprudence module as well. You've become familiar with CRPO's legislation, or yeah, CRPO's rules and regulations and legislation for Ontario. Apply ethical decision making. Most, I think, Tamina, you would probably have a course on ethics. And maintain self-care, which is a big part of it, the care of the therapist. Obtain clinical supervision and consultation, which would be part of internship, or just if you're working with clients, you might have a clinical supervisor. Provide reports to third parties. That's pretty obvious there. For my internship, we would have to do, like, sometimes we would have to submit documents to, like I had one client, I would have to write letters for her for the school, or you might have to contact a person's doctor, stuff like that. Now, 4 is the one, competency 4 just talks all about practicing psychotherapy with your clients. Like the process, the therapeutic alliance, essentially. So that's what the 4s are all about. Point 2, 4.3. Risk assessments. When you're doing internships, this is one of the first things, even in classes, they will teach you how to do different assessments, and particularly the suicide risk assessment. And in your, especially in CPEs, this is one of the big things. They will make sure you know how to do a risk assessment, how to do safety planning with your clients, how to do like a safe contact list, like a list of people your client feels safe to contact if they're feeling like at risk for suicide. Structure and facility. Yeah.
For supporting documents for that, like what kind of documents would you submit? Because like,
Oh, yeah.
Would you like assist and stuff like that work?
Assist? You did assist?
Yeah, like stuff like that would work as supporting documents for that?
I think so. I know assist is one of the big ones. Because I'm doing it from my educational program, I submitted this because for the CPE, for the practicums we do, we actually have a syllabus.
Oh, okay.
So that's what I submitted. And although the courses where we got trained on how to do assessments, I submitted that. So it was mainly my internship and whatever course where I learned to do assessments. And then if you've got, because you're going to reference your work as well, and your work is all about assisting clients who are suicidal. Right. So I would definitely submit that as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, you should probably tell Asda what kind of work you do. Nyeri works as a case manager for CMHA, which is one of the major mental health organizations in Ontario, maybe even in Canada, I'm not too sure. And she does not have, she's not an RP, but she has education similar to yours. So she doesn't need to have, even though she's a case manager for CMHA, she doesn't need to have, she doesn't need to be a registered psychotherapist. So it might be, yeah, CMHA is probably one of the places where you can go to look for job options.
Before you get licensed, before you get like the qualifying status.
Yeah, because Asa is still over in India and she's just trying to consider different options, pre-license, post-license.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's one major concern.
Yeah, no, I'd be happy to chat after, like.
Okay, I think Della might have your details.
Oh yeah, for sure. We can.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll ping you then.
Yes. Yeah. I will hook you guys up.
Thanks, Della.
You're welcome. 4.5, structure, facilitate the therapeutic process. 4.6, identify when and how to refer clients appropriately, which is a big one you get taught. You know, when have you reached your limits of how much service you can provide to the clients? 4.7, conduct an effective closure. And then 5.1, access and apply, sorry, I can't read at this point. Access and apply a range of relevant professional literature. So this one has to do with literature and I think research as well. And you can probably use your courses. Remember, the 5s are not one of the main ones, so you could probably use your courses because I'm sure you did a lot of research for those courses. And 5.2, use research findings to inform your clinical practice. And also, if you do the practicums that we did, you will have opportunity to do research and presentations as well. So, yeah. So that's the whole document.
Yeah, it's like writing a manual on how to be a therapist.
What's that?
And it's like writing a manual on how to be a therapist. That's what it feels like.
Yeah. It is. You know what? I would suggest maybe I wish I had a copy of it just like this. I'm surprised they don't just have a copy of this just on the CRPO website. that you can just download and work on at your own
Yeah.
pace.
Why would they make it easier? Why?
Because why not? Why make people's lives so miserable?
That's
You know
your
what?
therapist. You're such noble people.
They have a copy in French. They have it in French, but not in
that's
English.
not fair.
I found it in French and I was so puzzled. I'm like, why? I mean, they're all the way in Quebec. Why are you giving them a copy?
Your CRPO, Ontario. Come on.
Exactly. Yeah.
Can I just take a quick minute to just thank you so much, Della, for putting this together.
Yeah.
Even sharing the mapping tool, I don't think that that's something that a lot of people would feel comfortable doing. And the fact that you put all your answers on there too, I think that's great. And everybody who attended as well, I think that I learned a lot from their questions as well. So it was super informative and helpful for me. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Neri. Thank you.
I agree with everything Aneri said. I really been extremely overwhelmed with the prospect of having to develop the mapping tool and not being able to see it. And thinking it's this like impending thing that's going to come up for me at some point in time, and I may or may not be successful in getting it done. But to be able to see, it's like, it's very reassuring to know that, you know, it may, I mean, I'm still terrified. it may be more manageable than if I had never come across it before, because I did try really hard to, you know, it's just everybody seems so overwhelmed by it. And you also have a very calming presence. And I'm sure your clients tell you that all the time. So appreciate it.
Thank you. They do tell me that, but thank you.
I second that.
Oh, thank you guys. And I apologize for my voice. I feel like my voice, because I worked overnight. I didn't work overnight, but I worked last night and my voice is not its best. But yeah, just really thankful that we could all meet and do this. And hopefully you can use whatever you've learned, and you know, the process can be a lot more calm or for you. And what I suggest to the other clients who met in the last group, I just suggested to them, just do like one competency a day.
Yeah.
Like just
it took me a year, you know, to write the whole mapping. Like I took a whole year to complete the mapping tool.
Really?
I mean, it was just a little daunting. So I took my time with it. But that's what I'm saying, that I agree that nobody actually even shares a sample, you know, of one answer. So it's like, it was like shooting darts in the dark or something, that I didn't know what was I doing. So this was exceptionally helpful.
Absolutely.
So,
and not just that, you also tell like what other options are there. If this isn't working, then one can take this route, that route. So for somebody who's not based in Canada, it all just then seems doable, which is what one needs.
It's completely, it is doable. Yeah.
Sorry, I was just adding on to what Asta said, or for somebody who is in Canada but feels stuck. So it was still helpful. And I just will still bug you for the placement opportunities or the internship opportunities for whenever you get a chance. And
I will show you. I will do it quickly now. And if Tamina and Asta want to stay on, they can stay on. I will also tell you, when you're doing the mapping tool, always fill in the written portion first completely. And once you have all the written portions filled in, upload the documents after. If you do some written and then you try to upload and you try to save the documents, they will disappear on you. And you will be like, I had somebody else say to me, I can't submit it. I can't, my documents are there, but I can't. The documents will disappear on you. They will no longer be there. You will think they're in CRPO land, but they will be gone. So do all the written parts first, then upload your document and you'll be able to submit just fine. Yeah. So I will save this and forward this to you guys. I will actually upload it onto that Facebook group I just created. So there is an organization called CASC. Let me go on to CASC. C-A-S-C. It has an American version as well. And they provide internships for students. So this is one organization that if you're a therapist and you work from a spiritual modality, from a psycho-spiritual modality, you can register with them. it's not, CRPO is the only college regulatory body, but there are other organizations that you can register with. They don't give you the licensure to work as a psychotherapist, perhaps to work as a counselor, but you can register with them, and you can get certain perks like insurance, stuff like that. But they do have a lot of practicums. So I'll show you what some of the practicums are. Education. There's one called a CPE unit. It's a clinical pastoral education unit. There's one called a PCE, which is pastoral counseling education. And then there's one called an SPE, supervised pastoral education. They're all really the same thing. I don't know why they have all these different names. The clinical ones are in hospital.
Yeah.
So you can do it at any of like the major hospitals that they're attached to. This is amazing because to have a hospital on your resume, and if you do 2 or 3 internships, like, it's amazing experiences. I know people who failed courses, but because they have 3 units or 2 units, they're getting fantastic jobs. And then you can also do a residency. This one you get paid for. Tamina, after you do 2 CPE units, if you do a 3rd unit, it could be a residency and you get paid for it.
That would be nice.
I think Hamilton has a residency.
Yeah.
So I can't always remember or navigate their stuff. CPE units.
Yeah, so it's like SPE is like the title for both types, and then they both branch into either PCE or CPE. And PCE is usually in counseling centers and agencies. And CPE, like Della said, is in hospital settings most likely. And so CPE focuses on chaplaincy. PCE, if you finish all your PCE stages or steps, you end up being called a psycho-spiritual therapist. So and then what happens is all of these, they give you placement hours or direct client hours and also supervision hours. So what it does for you is if you're trying to go down the hour route, that I think both of you are trying to do, Asta and Neri, that this sort of helps you be able to get a supervisor without having to be associated with the master's program in Canada. But you may have to pay out of pocket a little bit for the first couple of stages, but it's much cheaper than being enrolled in a full-time program. And it's also, you already have the education. You don't need more training. You need experience. So this is sort of a way to get that experience.
Okay. And I have a quick question. So if your focus is not psycho-spiritual counseling or route, then you still be qualified to even try? Like, I don't know.
Okay. I should tell you, some are more focused on the spiritual side where it's mainly chaplaincy, and others are more focused on the psychotherapy side.
Right.
So the ones in Ontario.
Yeah, I feel like I'm open to it. It's just that if their expectation is for me to already be not practicing, but be aware of stuff like that, then I am not.
Most students that apply to these have a master's in theological studies or pastoral studies, most of them. But I know of somebody that I met a couple of weeks ago that was a foreign trained medical doctor that happened to go down this route and is now a chaplain. And chaplain only because she got her placements in hospitals. She could have gone to the agency route and would have, gotten the clinical and supervision hours that way. So it's an avenue that many people don't know about, and it's so nice to tell us about it because it's impossible to get a placement unless you're in school, right? And this allows it to be a possibility.
That's awesome.
The only thing I'll tell you, the one thing you have to be open to is that it's multi-faith, so you cannot go into the mindset that you can trash somebody else's faith group. So if somebody comes into it thinking that, so I did mine in a Christian stream, but it's multi-faith, we all come together. So you cannot sit there you have to be respectful and be willing to listen to somebody else's.
Of course.
That's the main thing. Just respect, like just being respectful. That's the main thing.
I see that it can be a lot of like good learning opportunity as well, right?
It is.
Yeah.
There was one student, there are some people who sign up there are different ways to get into it. If you're angry with religion or with God for any reason, this may not be for you. And there are lots of people in Canada, like I'm from the Caribbean originally, so we have a lot, like I believe there's a God, I know there's a God. If you're like, no, if you're not into this whole God thing, and if you're angry with churches or whatever, this isn't for you.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah.
I think it's
It's not a place to argue whether or not God is real. That's what it's just like, just be respectful of other people, okay?
Yeah.
You as a therapist anyways, right? Your clients are going to have different backgrounds, either spiritual, religious, all of that. So I mean, a safe, effective use of self, you keep your biases in check, and then you're just nice to people.
Oh, for sure.
Exactly.
Like I was saying, that because your clients can be anybody, it will be a good opportunity to learn.
And this is Canada, like.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a great way.
So the one I know of that because I applied for this one, you don't need to be in school to do this one. Here is the one at Owen Sound. I applied for it thinking that it would, my school would have been okay with it, but because Owen Sound was not attached to any school, I was told that I could not do it. So you would be applying to them directly. You would be paying the hospital. I can't remember if it's like 1,500 or whatever. You would pay the hospital. Yeah. You would be supervised by RPs. This one might be more on the chaplain side, but the way the CPEs work is that you have like a full day of didactics, psychotherapy related didactics. And you would have a syllabus.
Yeah.
You would be learning like about psychotherapeutic drugs, different modalities, just psychotherapy training. You might have to do chaplaincy duty maybe once a month, where you just you would have to prepare like something to share. They would train you on everything. I remember when I did part of one at Chem H, chaplaincy duty. You go in maybe one Sunday a month or once every 2 months, because there might be about 7 students. And you would just have to prepare a multi-faith message, because the people at the hospital are multi-faith.
Yeah.
It could be, let's say you found a poem that you really like, that really speaks to spirituality. You would share a poem, and then you can ask the other people to ask, how did it impact you when you heard this poem on a spiritual level? Right?
Okay.
It could be from.
I have one quick question.
Yeah.
I have one quick question. So are these they're in person, or
okay,
this would depend where you go to? Like,
not all of them are in person. The one from Owen Sound I mentioned, Owen Sound is in Ontario, but it's also not tied to a school. So if you applied and you got in, you're in. The one I did is in London, but it's online. You can see there was a student in Dubai and another student in Alberta. Mm-hmm. It's under PCE. And the ones under PCE would be a good option for you, because you can contact them. So Carly Raw's clinic, you can contact. Based on what I read, they are willing to work with students. You don't necessarily need to be attached to a school. This is the one I did. And I know they get a lot of applications, but you can contact them. You never know. So you can contact them, but you can also do it through, there is a lady in London who's one of the supervisors. Her name is Patricia, and she has the Trauma Healing Clinic. And another student who did his program at Yorkville, he came into our program through her. So he came in as her intern, and he joined our program.
Okay, that's good to know.
But it's all online. You can be anywhere, and it will give you a lot of hours. So, and then there are others. I will send you the name. I will send you the link, but this is a website that you can explore. And let me show you what the syllabus looks like.
Sure.
So the internship itself covers 450 hours. It's not 450 client contact hours, but it's 450 hours related to psychotherapy. So your options, if you went the route of the 750 hours, you could do 2 of these. You can do the 8-month part-time, and then you can do a full-time summer intensive. That would be 900 hours. So you would, that's 9, or you can do the 8-month, and you can ask the supervisor. So when I did mine, I did 150 direct client contact hours, and then I did 150 direct client contact hours, and then 300 hours of the didactics, the research, the presentations, all the other stuff.
Right.
So if you did this on a full-time basis for 8 months, you could probably do 450 direct client contact hours.
Right.
So you can either do like, let me show you the syllabus for this clinical placement.
Yeah. So when you said that you worked part-time, or sorry, you did this part-time, were you working as well? Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would consider doing it with working, because I have to.
Yeah, so that's an option. You know, you're complete in it, and no problem, you're complete in it. So you have nothing to worry about. So here's the syllabus. So it's affiliated with Martin Luther University. It's affiliated with Knox College, and it's affiliated with Emmanuel College, the one I did.
Yeah.
And even if you're not going to one of these colleges, you can. So let's say, Tamina, let's say you wanted to do the course. They would tell you to, what do you call it when you would have to
You seek permission to take one course with the university. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, you would have to apply, say, to Martin Luther, which the 2 of the students, the one in Dubai and the one in Alberta, that's what they did.
It's not terribly complicated. It's like, and one course is $666. I know the exact amount because I was just looking at it. and 56 cents at Martin Luther. So, and they have online courses as well. And as long as you take one course with them, you're now affiliated with them. They'll give you liability insurance as well. So you don't have to get separate liability insurance through CASC or anything. So you take one course, then you can take a placement, an PCE or an SPE or CPE, whatever they are.
Right.
Martin Luther seems to know all about this because I was trying to take another one of theirs. There's one at Waterloo as well, another CPE, and you just have to call them. They have an entire process. You can just call them up, sign up with them, register with them, and then you, as a student, and then you do your CPE unit.
And it's much more affordable than doing a whole program, right? If what you're looking for is hours.
For sure.
Or doing a bridging program for like $5,000, $10,000, whatever it might be. So this is the syllabus. It just tells you, it gives you the names, whatever course code that they follow. Mine was fall 2021 to winter. It's an extended unit. It's extended because it's 8 months. There is the intensive, which is full-time in the summer for 4 months, or not even 4 months, less than 4 months, maybe 3 months. It will give you all your supervisors, and they're all RP, like Alita is an RP. And all the nitty gritty details. Here is her psychotherapist's number.
Yeah.
You will have we had a provisional supervisor. This is somebody who's getting trained to become a supervisor, to become a clinical supervisor. So they also train clinical supervisors. And the clinical director has her own agency in London, and you can also, she takes on students as well.
And that's the Patricia you were saying is with the trauma healing clinic, Patricia?
Yes. Yeah, Bernstein.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe her office is on King Street, downtown London.
Are you situated in London right now?
Yeah.
Oh, you are? Okay, cool.
Yeah, I live around White Oaks, like around Ernest and Bradley. I've been here since 2020.
I'm moving there in a month. Actually, we're moving at the end of June, so I'm looking for friends. Maybe we can get together for coffee.
Oh, absolutely. London is so tiny. It's so. Yeah. Where are you moving from? Toronto?
From Guelph, so it's a bit of a bigger city than what I'm used to, but it's
My sister lives in Guelph.
Oh yeah, I love Guelph. I'm scared of London for now, but
I really do like Guelph. Guelph is so lovely. Like just walking around, it's quite lovely. London has a little bit of a funny smell to it.
But I feel like it's much more metropolitan than Guelph is. Guelph is like, everyone knows everyone, and you can go for hikes and walk around, and there's no rush hour traffic, which is not the case in London.
Yeah. I mean, it's not Toronto, so just be happy about that. But London, Guelph is like my nephews. My sister has 2 boys. Teenagers. They'll just walk to the park by themselves. They'll just take the cell phone. London is like downtown London is like Detroit. A lot of homeless people, a lot of drug problems. Toronto, Toronto is nothing like this. And then the outskirts is like Alabama, like countryside, farmers. So it's an interesting combination for me.
A bit of both.
Yeah.
Where you want to spend your time, I guess, but
it's its own unique place, but
Mine is more countryside.
What's that? Yours is all countryside?
Where are you?
I live in Curtis. I don't know if you guys know where Curtis is.
Oh, you're in Curtis.
East of Oshawa, so quite east.
I've heard of Curtis.
Yeah. It's tiny. Yeah.
Nice. One of my favorite places to live was Ottawa. Ottawa is very beautiful. It's like a larger version of Guelph.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So here's all the info. So the great thing about this, you will get like a course outline. Let me just go down to it here. So it breaks down the number of hours that you'll be doing each week.
Okay.
And then it also tells you what competencies for CASC that are being fulfilled, and for CRPO over here on the right-hand side, CRPO competencies that will be addressed.
Right. It's really good that they break it down to that.
Yeah.
Kind of the mapping tool as well, I guess.
Yeah, that's what happens when you go to a recognized program like mine. Even my syllabus is, so it's mainly the 1s and the 4s.
Right.
Syllabus don't look like this though, Della. The new program in London at Western, it's not as detailed as this. So I'm very
really?
Yeah, because you're just starting the program. It's only been running for a couple of years, like you said. So it's
the professor should, this is just for the placement. For my syllabuses, for my courses, they actually have the whole competency in there, like almost like I'll show it to you where. And our senior level course, you actually have to go through. I'll show you some other documents.
Yeah.
So here are all the books that you'll have to read and the recommended reading. And here's a list of all the assignments.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a really, really great, very detailed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, my program says that they are designing the courses in sort of consideration of the CRPO competencies, but the syllabi don't look anything as detailed as what you're looking at here. So
really, I'll show you another. Let's see. Islamic context and ministry. Oh, you might be one of the professors. You might be having readings from one of my professors, Nazila Iskandarova. Yeah.
I don't know yet. I'll find out.
You might be getting, she's one of the major, for Islamic psychotherapy in Canada. She's one of the major writers.
What did you say the name was? I'll look her up.
Nazila,
Nazila.
Yeah, Iskandarova.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, this course here, spiritual distress. So let me see. So this is like one of our syllabuses. This one is from Knox College because we take courses from both Knox and Emmanuel.
Mm-hmm.
And she actually has the entire
I see that.
CRPO, and she checks off for you which competencies are covered. Not all of the syllabuses had this. Some of them did. Others, they just wrote which ones they covered.
Yeah.
And some of these, I mean, this one is, some of them were, 20 pages long kind of thing. And the sessions, I love it when they write each class in detail. Like these, Sean Lucas is like from ChemH. He's one of the CPE supervisors. So all the CPE supervisors, here's Dr. Jeff Haber from Baycrest, Baycrest CPE. So they all come in and they teach us something else, something different. So yeah, so it's very detailed. So yeah, that's some information that's really helpful. Anything else? Any other questions? I know it's been like almost 4 hours at this point.
So one last question I think I have is, if I try, because you said working as a counselor is a possibility, it's unregulated. So say I'm
Yeah.
working as a counselor with any of the clinics or hospitals and I consult a RP, registered psychotherapist, as a supervisor, though I'll obviously have to pay their fee. I don't know if that will be manageable. Then I can complete those 450 DCC under their guidance.
What I would suggest to you is to work as a counselor with a registered social worker.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you work as a counselor, so right now in URI, if your supervisor is a registered social worker, then you can join and if you've been doing this for a year, you can join the College of Registered Social Workers.
Right.
And then that's one of the colleges where you can work as a psychotherapist. But ASTA, you should probably.
Yeah, I used to work with an ACT team, so we didn't have a supervisor. Like I was working, so I didn't. My literal supervisor was not a social worker, but we
Right.
did registered social worker on the team. But it's just, like I don't know how I would make that work. However, I think for ASTA as well, I don't believe that you can work as a counselor in a hospital without being licensed. That's as far as I remember. But
Yeah.
like you need to be regulated in order to work in a hospital here.
It's really hard to find work in a hospital
Yeah,
setting if you're not a regulated healthcare professional.
exactly. But you
Very
can watch
difficult.
here
Even
when
if you have a designation, it's hard. So
I know. Oh, yeah. But I guess when you come here, you can volunteer and stuff like that. But
So because I work as a counselor, so I think she might also be referring to the kind of work I do.
oh, okay. So
As a
like
resident.
addiction counselor. Oh, sorry. Go on.
Addictions counselor, you need a certificate as an addictions counselor. It's very specific. But as a
Right.
residential counselor, I started doing residential counselor even while I was still in school. And a number of other students from my program started working in different roles for different agencies, most of them in Toronto, but they were already working.
Right. Yeah, you're right. I guess I did addictions and mental health. That's probably why like that was an option. But yeah.
Yeah. So there are some different roles that ASA can apply to. I think part of it is because I think once you get here and you're more actively pursuing jobs, then you get a better sense of what jobs are available. But yeah, even Tamina, she could probably start applying for jobs in the field already, like as a counselor. Because those agencies, those nonprofits, I mean, they're overall supervised by social workers and they're under the ministry. Yeah, because I know the lady who's the director for our agency, she's constantly having meetings with the ministry. So they have certain leeway. They have certain leeway.
But I'm thinking like when they have that option, that if you've completed say 450 DCC and something like 150, 100, whatever supervision hours. So that's their criteria before you're applying to become an RP qualifying. So in what capacity does one work to get that?
Direct client contact hours. Remember when we saw the chart of who could supervise who? Direct client contact hours, you need to work in the scope of psychotherapy. That's so you can do it if you're a student being supervised by an RP. Remember, certain people can perform the role of practice the regulated act of psychotherapy if they're registered with a college or if they're a student. So you'd have to be a student working towards this. So you can as a counselor, you would not be practicing psychotherapy, even though you really are maybe practicing psychotherapy. You cannot call it psychotherapy.
Right.
So you cannot claim it as DCC hours. The only way you can do it is claim it as psychotherapy DCC hours is in an internship, but you cannot do it as a counselor.
So
You can
that's
call it-
unpaid.
Yes, all the internships are unpaid.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless it's a residency. If it's a residency, then you can get paid. I think it's like 20,000 a year or something. But
And then you have to go through the first 2 stages of not
Yeah.
being paid to be able to get to the residency. So
Yeah.
it's a very linear process. Like you can't,
yeah,
yeah.
But like
However,
Della, like last when I
have a que-
spoke to you, you were saying that for instance, I have 2 masters. So if unofficially I do try and approach employers, somewhere I might get lucky or something.
yeah.
So, sorry, Della, I was just gonna add, like, is the question, is this after you get RP qualifying status? Is this
No,
like,
no, before that.
You can work. You can work as a counselor right now.
Yeah.
And Yuri technically is working in the role of, she can call it a counselor if she wants to. You can do it, but you cannot call it psychotherapy and you cannot count it towards hours with the College of Psychotherapists. You can call it towards hours with the College of Social Workers.
right?
If your goal is to come to Canada, then the first step would be to find employment or education within Canada, right? And then once you're here, you try and go the CASC route that Della told us about today with the
Yeah.
students and all. But the first step for you would be to be able to get any DCC hours, you need to be a student, right? Or you need to be on an internship.
From your, outside of student bracket, you would have to do the 750 currency hours, which you can also do through an internship, or you can do technically through work, which is what you're doing right now, but you would have to have all your documents in order. And I think that's what you're working, that's what the challenge you're having right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can go even right where you are in India. If you say, let's say you wanted to do one of the internships, one of the practicums, you can do that.
Yeah.
But then that's going to be,
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do right now as well. But nothing like, I think that ultimately, if you're going to be practicing here in Canada and Ontario, that experience really would be crucial. So, yeah.
But it's like a catch-22, no? Like if I'm not meeting the criteria for any reason for being an RP qualifying, then how do I get in this system? So it's like because I'll be coming, then I'll have to shell out so much money and I'll be unpaid. That's pretty scary. I don't know.
it works out. It's something, when we were watching the first video, my professor says, he said, it becomes clearer once you are in it. So when you're not in it, you can't see the process, but once you're in it, because you're still in India, I think it's a bit harder for you to see how things are going to work out. But Anyeri is here and she's already gotten a job.
Yeah, and I can talk to you a little more about it, like, eventually, and not take up everybody's time. But it's like, if you were going somewhere to study, like, of course, you wouldn't be getting paid. But at the same time, like, you can do other things on the side. So it wouldn't be like you're not getting paid at all. But through your internship, you wouldn't, right? So, yeah.
And that's why they have those extended options too with the internship, right? Is that you can commit 2 to 3 days a week towards the internship, and then the other 5 days, if you don't want to give yourself a weekend, the other days of the week you could still be pursuing paid work.
Yeah,
right.
You would be like a job in Canada, even making like minimum dollars, you could still make at least $2,500. I mean, my expenses every month are $2,000.
Okay.
So that's like, so you can still get a job that pays you that, even if it's not paying you $30 an hour or $50 an hour. You can still meet your minimum expenses, and you can continue to pursue your goals.
Yeah. I know it feels really daunting being away and from Canada. It feels, it's daunting for me, and I'm here, right? So,
me as well.
So I can only imagine how much more daunting it would be.
Yeah.
And there's travel expenses, and you're converting what your savings are into Canadian, all of that. It's extremely daunting. But I think what Della and Anyeri are trying to say is that once you're working towards the goal, and you've sort of, even if they're baby steps, the progress is very real, and it adds up, is I think.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it feel more tangible once you're actually making the progress.
Agreed. And it's also temporary until you pass a certain point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Temporary thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but I cannot thank you guys enough for telling me about Cask, and I think that was really good.
Oh, and then there's the last one.
Entire session.
I just wanted to mention this one to Asta. You can also, so a lot of people who don't have a master's degree and cannot apply to the College of Registered Psychotherapists, they would be applying to one of these associations, Canadian Counseling and Psychotherapy Association, and they're getting registered as counselors.
Okay.
And then they can still work. You can still register on Psychology Today as a counselor. So they're just getting memberships. So it's not a registration, it's just a membership to work as a professional counselor. And you can charge the same.
But this wouldn't help with get with CRPO a bit, right?
It's not going to help with DCC hours. This, I can tell you how it does help. If you are a member of CCPA, you're deemed a member of the College of Counseling Therapists of PEI. You're deemed a member of the College of Counseling Therapists of PEI. And if you're a member of the College of Counseling Therapists of PEI, you can do labor mobility transfer to CRPO. Also, if you're a member of CASC, you're deemed a member of the College of Counseling Therapists of PEI. So it's easier, it skips a whole lot of steps, and then you can do labor mobility from that college, which is a regulatory college, to CRPO. Let me just show you the PEI, and that'll be the last thing, because there are other. So here is PEI, deemed registrants. Any practitioner who holds an approved designation from the associations below and is in good standing with that association is considered a deemed registrant of the college. So all of these, you've got CASC down here somewhere. You've got the CCPA, which is the one I just showed you.
Then I should just think of settling down in another province. Why am I after Ontario?
Yeah, and in the maritime provinces, you can work as a psychologist with a master's degree. At least the last time I checked.
Where?
The maritime provinces.
As well as BC.
Oh,
in BC, the clinical psychologist is a master's degree.
And Alberta?
Yeah, in BC, Alberta, I think, yeah, and Maritimes.
Yeah.
I know somebody who trained in BC and then is now in Ontario, and they did the labor mobility thing and are equivalent in terms of their pay as somebody with a PhD.
So you're a deemed member, and then you can do your transition to CRPO, but it's a process, it's an expensive process, right? Because they all charge hundreds and hundreds of dollars, but as Aneri was saying, it's you start the process and you're just working towards your goals. And everything, I'll tell you right now, everything in Canada costs money. You make money, but Canada is a very expensive. You make a lot of money. The average psychotherapist considers 15 clients a week as a sufficient number. So 15 hours times $150, which is what you're charging per hour. That's $2,250 a week times, let's say, 4 weeks. That's 9,000 Canadian dollars a month. Times 12 months, that's 108,000 Canadian dollars. You're making a lot of money.
So that's how much you charge I'm assuming, in big cities?
No, well, I guess you would have to. Oh, and counselors can charge the same thing, $150 an hour as a counselor. You wouldn't necessarily charge less in a smaller city like London, which is smaller. It's still 150. Like in
why does one consider moving, as you said? Like, for instance, if I do get in and I'm in this other province, why all that extra work to get under CRPO move to Ontario?
You don't have to. It's only if you would rather be in Ontario. PEI is lovely. My brother lives in New Brunswick, much smaller provinces. You've got the ocean close by, a lot of
More cost
seafood.
of living.
Yeah, it depends on
Or-
what you're looking for. I guess it depends on what your preference.
Most people are tied to Ontario because they have family
Yeah.
or responsibilities in Ontario. That's why we live here.
Yeah.
But everywhere else, like even cost of living, homes and everything, it's a lot more affordable outside of Ontario.
Yeah. If you have $2 million to buy a house, move to Toronto.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you have 2 million, otherwise don't move to Toronto.
Otherwise, go to PEI. My brother bought his house for $100,000 in 2020
Wow.
in Moncton, and now it's worth like $500,000. But yeah, so if you can move to PEI or Moncton, where Toronto is very stressful, by the way. Like, I can drive 10 minutes to work in London. Toronto, good luck driving 10 minutes to work. Maybe 40 minutes.
But like driving in Toronto, you're probably walking or taking a subway or something.
Right. So if you can, there's nothing wrong with the other provinces. It's just that Toronto is an immigrant city. When we moved here as children with our families, we were moving here as immigrants and everybody was flocking to Toronto. Now everybody's flocking out of Toronto because it's just so expensive. That's why I moved out. That's why Tamina's moving out.
Yeah, I will have to leave now, but thank you so much, everyone, for
Thank
all
you.
of the knowledge that you've imparted.
Thank
and
you.
I appreciate it. And thank you. And Della, I might need to ask you about the other CRPO groups on Facebook. I'm very much not a tech savvy person, so I didn't know much about Facebook groups until very recently. And so if you could maybe direct me towards those as well, I would really appreciate it.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure.
Thank
And
you.
we'll keep in touch.
Thank you so much. And good luck, Asa and Aneri. And
All the
thank
best
you,
to you.
Della. I appreciate it.
And good luck to you too at school. Take care, okay?
Bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah, so I imagine you guys probably have to go as well. And it's been a lot of information to digest. But yeah, Asa, there are other options for you.
Yeah, I'll start working towards that as well, I think.
And some of these might process your application even sooner. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you so much, Della.
Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome, Aneri.
Thanks.
We'll keep
And
in
I'll
touch.
start-
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, bye guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. How do I stop this? How do I stop recording? Okay, let's stop share.